Since Phase 2 has been out for a couple weeks now, I think it's time to make a tier list on the perks and sabotages. I don't have much to talk about in the beginning here, so I'm just going to get straight into it. For sabotages, not much has been changed. There was one big change, and that was the cooldown starts once the effect of the sabotage ends, with the exception of Booby Trap. Speaking of Booby Trap, that is what we're going to start with, and it's in C tier because it still sucks. Nothing changed. It sucks. Next, we'll be going with Directionless, and that will also be in C tier because it sucks. There's nothing else to say about it. Me and my friends have been memeing on it for a while now, so hopefully it gets changed at some point. Next one is Feeding Frenzy, the one I prefer the most, and I put in S tier because it is insanely good for pretty much any case. You save so much time from putting people in holes that you can just keep chasing. You don't have to give up a chase ever. Next is Living Nightmare, and I put that in B tier because it's pretty good for the purpose of just people not seeing. But if they don't need to see you coming and they can listen well, then, it's just not that good. For No Escape, I put that one in S tier because it is insanely good. There's just nothing else to say about that. It's just insanely good. It shuts down literally any possibility for a survivor to do anything in a chase. They have to rely on low ceilings and vents, which there's not too many good ones without doors. Good old No Pack. It still sucks. Nothing was changed. It's fallen from its grace of S tier down to C because cutting half of its time and making it so that you can end the effect in an instant? No Escape is just the superior version of No Pack. Moving over to Shutdown, it's still an insanely good sabotage. The cooldown thing didn't really change too much, it just made its potency less. Its effect is still strong as ever, and that still needs to be fixed. And lastly, Total Lockdown. I don't remember what I put Total Lockdown at, but I remember I dogged on it a little bit, but now that I've used it a bit more, it's so much more fun to use than any other sabotage. So I've put it in B tier mostly because of how fun it is. It's still detrimental to you at times if you don't know where you're going, but it's still very helpful regardless. That was all 8 sabotages, and now we're going to move on to the perks. And the first one I'm going to be doing here was one that I hated the utmost in the last phase, Genius. It has been changed from slowing you down to making it so that if you mess up, you'll not make any sound. It's not bad for new people, but if you can do it, you don't need it. So that is why it's in C tier. Next up is the good old Leadership. It's more in S tier than it ever was. Now it also heals you when you're around somebody, not even if you're healing someone else, which is also not in the description of the perk. If they just made it how the perk says, it would still be really strong, but come on, just make it correct. I just think it's funny that they're kind of dancing around making it exactly what the perk says, and now instead of it being it only heals other people, it now heals you even when you're not healing other people. Even though the perk states it heals you when you're healing other people. I don't know, but it's really strong now. More so than before. So yeah, S. Next is Distant Savior. That has not been changed, but what has been changed is how your hands go onto holes. So you can grab the corner of it, so maybe it's better, maybe it's not. However you want to see it, I say it's still an A tier. It's a really nice perk. I like it. Next, we've got Master Pianist. It has been nerfed, so I'm not putting it in S tier. I'm going to put it in A tier because it still has a lot of strength at cutting away a lot of the piano time. So it's still a solid perk. Still really good to use if you hate the piano, but you still got to use your brain. Next, we have Leave No Trace, which I still think is an A tier. It is a solid perk. It still works. Footsteps are just very loud. But most of the time, loud footsteps don't really matter as long as your footsteps don't show where you just went. Next, we've got our first new perk here, Pathfinder. It is for the ball maze puzzle, whichever one you want to call it. Ball, maze, I don't know. It speeds up how fast the ball goes by 25%, 50%, and 75%, which it seems like a lot, but in reality, it's not that fast. Most of the time, I can't even tell that it's moving faster. So I'm putting it in B tier because I'm not too sure if it works, because if it does, it just doesn't feel like it works. It might be a placebo effect kind of thing, me thinking, I'm running the perk, so it's gotta work, but honestly, I have no idea. Punching bag. I remember when I made this last tier list, it didn't function. Now it functions, and they changed it. Now when you're running it, you have a blue health bar to show you have a shield. Whenever you get hit, the shield goes on cooldown for 60 seconds, 45 seconds, or 30 seconds, depending on the level. Which means you can technically get healed while in chase and take one more hit if you run them for 30 seconds, which is very nice. Especially when you're the last one alive and you just need to wait out that time. I have put it in S tier because taking more hits is just good in general. It's not as good as it was when I was in that tournament, but it's still good regardless. Next up, we have Puzzle Picasso, our second new perk, for the collage puzzle. Same effect as Genius, but just for the collage puzzle. So I put it in the same category as Genius because if you can't do the collage puzzle well, then it works for you, but generally do not run this perk if you can do the puzzle. It's not worth it. Shadow Walker. I remember dogging on this perk, but now it's actually got a use instead of crouching speed. Wow, look at that. It makes your footsteps quieter, which can be good sometimes, but if you're leaving footprints, it doesn't really matter. Running Leave No Trace together with it makes it a really, really strong combo, but in general, by itself, I have to put it in B tier. And next up is Think Fast. It has been changed since the last time I did the tier list, and it has been changed for the better. The new one skips 2, 4, and 6 parts of the reaction time puzzle, but the reaction time puzzle is 16, so it basically makes it the same as it was before the change on the reaction time puzzle. So since it's fairly mediocre, I put it in B tier because it's not much of a change, but it helps. The new Roly Poly. Oh my lord, I love this perk so much now. Oh boy. With the new Roly Poly, you can roll twice whenever you want. You have 2 charges. But your cooldown becomes 2 times as long, 1.75 times as long, 1.5 times as long. It is such a strong perk for just moving around in general. It is the replacement for Power Walker, and it's a much more balanced version of Power Walker. There have been times where I've died because the roll cooldown took too long to come up, but there are many times where I've gotten away because I had that second roll. So there is a little bit of a downside, which means I cannot put it in S tier, and that's why I'm going to put it in A tier. And then the final one, Claw Collector, the last new perk. It slows down the claw machine. And you know me, I hate perks that make everything slower. Therefore, F. Actually, you know what? Where you belong. Yes, I did the joke again. It's funny to me. Please laugh. And that's the tier list. Yippee, I did it again. Woo! I want to know what you guys think, if you think I'm insane or not. I think I'm not insane for the tier list, but for other things, yes, maybe. I need to get back into making videos. That tournament video really took editing and doing literally anything out of me. But, you know, I'm back. I'm gaming. And I'm going for Phase 2 champ, because I got Phase 1. If you did not know, I did get 2,610 levels in Phase 1. And now in the Poppy Playtime Discord server, I have Phase 1 champ role, which, nice. Leave a like, it really helps out a lot. I really appreciate all you guys being here, watching this, and maybe sharing this with someone that thinks Claw Collector's a good perk. Tell them they're dumb.